Today, folks, we continue to be in this face-ripping rocket ship to the damn moon-like market. We need to talk about my portfolio that continues to rocket to all-time highs, over 335K today with all my ETFs, VO, SHD, VDY, ripping to the moon. SHD had a share split. You might have crapped your pants if you logged into your brokerage account this morning and saw I'm like down 61%. It's just because the new shares haven't hit the account. VOO is at all-time highs today. The Canadian markets, even with the likes of major companies like TD getting multi-billion-dollar fines for money laundering, we're still at all-time highs, man. And the only way you're really losing is if you're over-leveraged in speculative investments, so be cautious. We saw Tesla, the conversation of choice this week, the robo-taxi event, bringing the price down. TD is continuing to tank today. It's not all roses and fairies, but we're going to break the stories of the week down, talk about the portfolio. If you are on a path to financial independence that damn well one day retire early, join me. Let's do this together. Hit that subscribe button and like if you enjoy these kind of conversations, because before we round out with the ETFs, the portfolio updates, we got to talk about Tesla. The robo-taxi event, We Robot, was the event of the week. It was cool, it was pivotal, but we got a lot of lackluster timelines, continue push out dates for self-driving. The new robo-taxi likely not going to hit the roads till 2027, and that's probably optimistic for the most part, but it was a bipolar, bearish, bullish, split event from conversation, but the bears definitely took the lead here as we took a look at the new toaster oven robo van that likely drove up to the stage being controlled by, you know, some kind of joystick because it was a bit janky, and I don't even think this could be a road legal car for the most part, but it was a cool demo nonetheless. Canada figured this out a while ago, obviously, with our our little electrical train things. But if you want to get Elon's inspiration and get into his mind a little bit, go back to any early 90s 2000s like robotic AI oriented movie. I mean, you take a look at the Audi from iRobot, which was an incredible movie that really feels like Tesla is the company that's making this stuff. But you look at like this Audi, right, from that movie, the concept car, and then you look at the robo-taxi, there's a lot of similarities here, right? And the only thing I was really looking forward to in this event was obviously the robots. I mean, Chris Camillo, if you watch Dumb Money, I mean, this was the only thing that he was really, I think, looking at the event for. And he went into this so hyped. He's like, I hate myself. This guy's from Dumb Money, by the way. He's a multimillionaire investor, but hate myself for the Tesla OTM weekly calls. I swore I'd avoid, but I FOMO'd into them anyways. Here for the humanoids. Don't let us down, We Robot. Still see myself being uncomfortably levered long on Tesla someday. But not today, folks, because, you know, this event, again, I think for most investors was largely underwhelming. The only thing that really disappointed me was in the demo, in the live video that we watched last night. It didn't really give a whole lot of insight into the robot. It didn't really give a whole lot of insight or technicals into anything. And I couldn't tell if the robot was real or if it was being controlled to some extent. And then I saw some videos surface later that were so much more inspirational to what this robot could do and what it is doing. I mean, take a listen to this.
Cybercab.
Cybercab looks amazing.
I know.
I'm trying to get a ride.
Dude, me too.
Like, this is so cool, right?
Elon, he's a techno king.
Optimus can talk?
Yeah. He also does sign language.
Yeah, then they had it pouring drinks. Though I saw it mess up. There was a video where it messed up pouring the drink. Like, I mean, this thing is still janky, but it's come a long way, right?
See that? Yeah. Can you give a peace sign, Optimus? Can you do the peace sign?
So I don't know what the boundaries are or how much of these are controlled for the event. It's like even Tesla self-driving. I don't even know if the robo-taxis that were self-driving weren't just set up on a rail system, because this was at a studio, a controlled environment. But yeah, the problem is, as cool as all this is, it is hype, it is steam, it is what Elon is famous for, followed by, 5-10 years of full delays with an unfinished, underrated product for the most part. Like Cybertruck barely met any of the conditions that they promised, and I'm very confident that's what's going to happen with a lot of this stuff. And keep in mind, this is coming from somebody that is bullish long-term on Tesla. I love Tesla, but as mentioned, it is very hard from an investment standpoint to want to get locked up in something that is likely going to flatline for a decade. You're better off waiting for the stuff to come into fruition and start hitting the bottom line and buy the rally than you are to get caught up necessarily in sitting in dead money for this long. This is why I primarily just invest in ETFs. So the underweighted stocks, as they come into performance, they'll weight their way up, and eventually eventually benefit the ETF as a whole. But in the meantime, while Tesla's tanking, I'm barely feeling it as the S&P obviously hits an all-time high this week. I mean, I can't get over, you take a look at the 1 year here, we're up 32% in the last year. You know how crazy this is? SCHD, again, up 1% today, actually outpacing the market returns today, which is absolutely incredible. VDY, I mean, this is up 23% in the last year. You slap on the fact that I locked in over 5% yield on this sucker. We're looking at a 28% return in the last year if you've been holding it, right? I mean, we've been doing exceptionally well, and I'm just sitting here owning the most boring stuff in my opinion. So it is quite incredible to see. The biggest concern I have is the fact that how long can this go on for? I am a guy of reasonable expectations, and somehow my expectations always get beaten, but we're trading at over a 30 times multiple in the S&P, and it continues to go up, and there's no way that earnings this quarter are going to justify a 30 times multiple. The last quarterly earnings we had were not as robust as, the first quarter earnings we had of the year. Things are slowing down a bit here, guys, so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get a correctional period. It did not happen in September and so far into October like it historically has over the last several years. So just be hyper cautious, but I'm still very bullish on the lower half of the market starting to justify some returns because as we take a look into this week, it's not really tech driving the gains. Tesla's down 12%. Google, Meta are down, Microsoft's down, Apple's barely up. Nvidia did give us some pretty good gains this week, but for the most part, again, you look at the lower half and the banks are doing exceptionally well. Healthcare is doing very well. We're seeing a nice diverse performance, which I'm hoping picks up as interest rate cuts continue to recover the more debted, the more interest rate sensitive stocks. I still think we're heading into a new bull market that might be getting priced in to some extent. That could be what's going on here. Nobody knows. Again, it's gambling in the short term, right? If we take a look at the Canadian market, same sort of thing. I mean, look at the returns. C&Q's up 7%. Enbridge, Oil Energy is doing great. The banks are doing well with the exception of TD. This is why VDY is crushing it. And I'm just sitting here, continually collecting the dividends that though might not be that exciting. I mean, the overall dividend yield is 2.37% on this portfolio currently. But I mean, I look at that as just the cherry on top of the growth that we've been able to get. Since the adjustments in this portfolio, we're now up almost 25% overall. That's a $63,000 gain. I'm certainly not complaining, as most people in our chat group are making more money off their portfolios right now this year than they are off their actual jobs. And that's the reason we do this, right? I mean, it's a full-time income at scale. And when I mean at scale, I mean, once you get to that 50, 100, $250,000 mark, like your money really starts to compound for you here. And I just want this to be an exemplifier because I do hold individual stocks. I hold penny stocks. I have precious metal investments, but I look at this as the core aspect of the portfolio for retirement. And I want you to be admired by this, not by the face ripping gains that I got in Tesla in 2019 or the MJ markets or the psychedelic markets. Like, we've had so many trends that have made me a small fortune, but in real long-term examples where you don't lose money, because almost all the stocks I traded back in the day that made me a fortune, they're all almost below or at the price I initially paid for them. It is a trading game and it takes a lot of effort, but most people will end up losing over the long term. So I really want you to take a look at this and just be like, holy shit, boring investments do work if you stay consistent, you cost average, and you try not to be too much of a degenerate gambler, YOLOing Tesla calls on events to have the stock drop 10%. I'm just saying. But I'll pass that question off to you. I'd love to know what you think about everything going on this week in that comment section below.